Hey everybody, it's Missy bringing you another layout for my Scraps and More. And this layout was made for last week's Throwback Thursday challenge. And I pulled out this Studio Calico Wonderlust paper pad, and I have never used it. I've had it ever since it came out, and for whatever reason, it was just one of those that I never went for, or it never matched up with what I was doing. So I challenged myself to use it. So I pulled it out, and I had an idea going on in my brain that involved circles. And so I pulled out my 1.5" circle punch, and I'm just going to go through several of the papers and just punch out some circles. And of course, some of them got stuck in there, and I would have to dig them out, but this is pretty easy to do. So I'm not going to show you every single paper that I punched. But and I'm sorry I'm kind of off camera here. I was just going and not realizing it, but I come back up here in just a second. There we go. So I just wanted a little bit of every color, and I'm going to scrap this black and white photo of my little wild child on her Hot Wheels, and I'm going to kind of create my own background using all these circles. But first I'm going to use some gesso, and I believe that's clear gesso. Yes, it's clear gesso, and I'm just covering the background. And I'll just go ahead and tell you that pretty much everything under the kitchen sink winds up on this layout. So I start out with the clear gesso, and then I'm going to come in with gelatos, and I'm going to use blue, green, and yellow shades of gelatos. And I'm kind of experimenting here. I had an idea with the circles, but I knew that I didn't want the background to be solid white, and so I'm just doing the packaging technique like I usually do, and a couple of different gelatos, and I'm just kind of giving some color to the background. And a lot of the circles are going to cover this up, but a lot of it is still going to show through. And I'm using some gelatos that I've had for a while and some newer ones, not brand new, but ones that are more of a recent purchase. And they are the brights, and they are super bright. That green and yellow are really bright. And I'm just going to add some splatters here with some Heidi Swapp Color Shine and some different ink sprays, just to add a little bit more there to the background. And I decided to use circles and punch my picture in a circle because she's on her Hot Wheels, and you know, it has wheels and they're round, and so I thought, let's make a bunch of circles. So my idea was to create a bunch of different little pie charts with all of these patterns. And so I'm just cutting each circle in half and then cutting the half in half, and then I'm going to mix and match all of them, so each part of each circle is a different pattern paper and a different color. And I'm not really going by any rhyme or reason here. I'm just picking 4 different patterns and putting together a circle. And some of the pieces are, you know, cut kind of wonky. They're not, I didn't measure them or anything, and so some of them don't make a perfect circle, but it doesn't bother me. I wanted it to look kind of crooked and wonky. Is wonky a word? I'm using the word wonky. Kind of crooked and not straight. And I did want some pops of black, but since my photo is black and white. So that's my final product right there. And I decide right away, there's so many colors and it's so bright, I need to tone this down. So then I go for the white gesso and my gift card again, and I'm just going to kind of fade some of this away. I don't want it completely covered, but I don't want it so crisp, and each of those colors are just, there's so many things going on, and it was bugging me, and so I thought, okay, we need to make this a little more subtle. And so that's what I'm going to do here. And I don't know if you can hear, but it is really raining outside right now, so if you can hear the rain pouring outside of my window, that's what that noise is. So I'm going to give the heat gun a go here, and I always like to heat the back of my paper when there's a lot of product on it. It helps it from warping. I did a little stitching there, and that's where my photo is going to go. And now I pulled out this circle stamp from my stash, and I'm going to kind of go around some of the circles, and it just happened to be the exact same size. And so I'm going to stamp around some of them. And at this point, I remember thinking, is this a mistake? Is this making this stand out again after I just used the gesso to cover it up. I wasn't sure if I liked it or not, but I just kept going. And it's still really busy, but I'm going to work on that. So now I'm going to go back through the pattern papers and use a giant circle punch. I think that's 3 inches maybe? I can't remember. I'm terrible with math. Math. It's not really math. I just don't know how big the punch is. I think it's 3 inches. I don't know. And I'm going to create some layers behind my picture, and they're all going to be circles. And I wanted a little bit of each color represented, so I cut out 3 different papers. And some of these papers, I forgot to mention, are from Brighton Pier, which is also Studio Calico. That's another collection that I used. I did use some of that one when it first came out, but I still have a lot of it left. And so I just kind of grabbed both of these Studio Calico collections and made them work together. Now this is some Echo Park. Capture Life, I believe. They had a black and white collection and a color collection, and this is from the black and white collection. And I'm just going to create a couple of strips here and give the photo a little base to sit on. And this is back to the Studio Calico. I think that's Brighton Pier. It's that sheet with all the bookends. And I just want some yellow going on here, so that's why I cut that one out. And that is also Studio Calico. It is crazy what you find when you go through your stash. I totally forgot I had this and realized I still had so much of it left. Alright, and so I'm going to adhere all of those strips down. Make sure they're straight, because we can't have crooked... I can have crooked circles, but I can't have crooked strips, right? And that says, wake up and be awesome. And I just thought that was a cute sentiment. Okay, so now that that's done, I kind of know where I'm going to put my picture because I've already done the stitching there. So guess what? That was way too bright. Everything else was kind of toned down, and then I put these strips on, and it was too bright, and so I covered some of them up, came back in with the heat gun. There is so much product on this page. I hope it fits in an album. So now I'm coming back in with the gelatos and adding some more pink because it just needed more pink. Simple reason, right? I just wanted more pink in there. And I also did some more stitching. I forgot to mention this. I made some crisscrosses on some of these circles. I didn't do all of them. I was going to do all of them, and then my sewing machine made me have a hissy fit. And so I only did a couple of them and then decided, okay, I've had enough of you, sewing machine, so get out of my sight. You're going back to your shelf for tonight, because if you pop the thread one more time, I'm going to throw you across the room. And so we had a disagreement, and he went bye-bye. So that's why they're not all sewn on. But I actually kind of like it. I didn't want it to be overkill, so it worked out. We have since made up, and I have used it a couple more times, and he decided to behave, so that's good, because I really don't want to have to buy a new sewing machine just because I had a hissy fit. And I kept dropping the picture. Yeah. You had one of those days? The first time I dropped it, I got glue on the picture. Thank goodness I was able to wipe it off. Alright, so another part of my Throwback Thursday challenge was to use some old thickers. And I know you remember these Cal Barteschi American Crafts thickers. I've been wanting to use that Love thicker since I got it. And how long have they been out? And I've tried to use it several times, and it just has not worked out. It has just been too big, or I used too many pictures, and it just didn't work, I don't know, with the design that I was making. And so it finally worked. And I was so excited because I've been wanting to use it. And so I did. Now these are some little alphas from Simple Stories. I believe it's the DIY Boutique. There was a little strip of, or not strip, a page of alphas in almost every color you could imagine. And so I'm going to use some of the black ones and the blue ones, and then I'm going to go through and outline each of the blue ones with a black pen because they just weren't standing out enough. And then I'm going to add my journaling, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I like how it turned out. I didn't want to smudge my black color shine, so I put my napkin under my hand there. But I like how this turned out. It was fun to put together. I like the pie chart idea, and I like the fact that everything's round. You know, kind of goes with the Hot Wheels idea. I did add a couple of other little doodads off camera. I added some flare buttons and an arrow Evilicious paper clip and a couple of stickers. So thank you for joining me today, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope to see you over on our forums at My Scraps and More, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.